What's going on, guys? This is FitDread from FitDread.com doing part 2 of my 2-part series in my Hyperspin cabinet build. As you can see, it's already, almost complete. There's the bezel missing, that's it. And oh yeah, my decals, my front, my top control panel, and my side decals are not complete yet. But as a functional state, we're looking good. Also, this top part has to be replaced. We'll get into that in the hardware segment. That's what this video is. It's a hardware series out of my software and hardware series. So let me go over some of the hardware components in this cabinet and see what we can find. Alright guys, we're going to actually take a look at the hardware. I'm going to be walking around the cabinet with my camera, and I'm sorry, but autofocus is just garbage for this thing, so I'm going to be manually focusing. So I'm sorry about that ahead of time. You can see here, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just on a few things. My marquee, let's see, there's a piece of plexiglass, T-molding on the top and bottom. You have the print, which is actually just a, what was it, not gloss, but matte finished piece of paper I had printed at a print shop, FedEx office. Actually, I don't like the print because the darks aren't dark enough, so I'm actually going to go and I'm going to get a gloss print done, and maybe one with a better material. There was a backlight in here, and there still is. It's just garbage right now. It doesn't light it up very well. I mean, they told me that it wouldn't light up very well, and it's kind of my fault. And I also glued it on, so to replace it, I'm gonna have to pry it off. But it's no big deal. You won't be able to tell once I put it back on. The control panel. Let's see. Let's go over the body. It's made out of 5/8 inch. 5/8 inch MDF board, all cut myself. The designs were acquired online. I was able to find, I basically just Google imaged bar top arcade cabinet, and like one of the images I saw, I looked at it and I was like, well, that looks great, and it looked like it kind of had plans. Clicked on it, and there was plans plus a blend file. And if you don't know what a blend file is, Blender is a 3D animation program. So I was able to get a 3D model and everything of the cabinet. And using that 3D model along with the measurements provided, I was able to draft this up, and some modifications were made. One modification is this control panel actually opens. This didn't do this originally. But let's talk about the control panel initially. You have 2 joysticks, 2 players, 2 start buttons, a menu button here to go back into Hyperspin. You have 2 coin buttons here in the front, and I'm sorry, I have to manual focus. 2 coin buttons and 7 buttons a player, like I said. These buttons are, let's see, the exact type of button I can't say. They're like gold leaf buttons. Very quiet, listen. Compared to these buttons. Hear that click? You don't hear that click here because this button is like a normal button. This is like a gold leaf button. I wanted my main 6 to be silent-ish, and then my other buttons to have a real click to them, so you can hear that click in every other button I have. Joysticks give a click too. Whatever. I was actually gonna go. These are 4- and 8-way joysticks. I like them, but I don't like them, and I'll explain that another time. You're supposed to be able to pull up and then twist it to be able to switch between 4- and 8-way mode, but this one on the left actually came with the way the manufacturer had some plastics in there. It actually bent really bad, so it doesn't function the way it should. This one does just fine, but this one you actually have to open it up to be able to make that change, and I'll go ahead and open it up now. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to play some camera stuff. You can see in one of my earlier videos I kind of explained this whole thing, but I kind of want to just go over some of this stuff. So I'm focusing in on the chip, not chip, but it's the iPack. This is an iPack 2 from like Ultimark Arcade, and the nice features about this is it has inputs for both players. It offers basically every wire goes to that circuit board, and you can see there are wires for each button, and it's kind of a mess down there. Don't let it scare you. It's actually just 1 wire per button going to that iPack down there, and then a ground wire, which is the white wire, daisy chaining across the player 1 and player 2 buttons. And actually the iPack itself is USB that plugs into it and snakes back into the cab. That's actually just a plain old USB cable going into the computer. And I'll show you those components in a minute. The way the iPack, the control panel shuts, you can see here, it has little things that stick out here and little grabs. They kind of just grab it in place. That's kind of what grabs the control panel shut. Some spare batteries for my wireless keyboard. I can show you that. On top here, I kind of just store my Logitech keyboard, and this keyboard is awesome, guys. It's got full keyboard and then a multi-touch trackpad with left and a right mouse button. It is wireless, USB wireless. It has an on button here, and I'm sorry, manual focusing, on and off button. It will die if you don't turn it off, so turn it off. Now it's off. It's pretty nice. AA batteries, so I keep some spares in there just in case. In my earlier video I kind of outlined what this is. This is a smart power strip. Power strip basically enables you to have multiple things plugged into it. First off, okay, great. So I can have basically, alright, the reason I have a power strip, one reason I have a power strip is because the monitor and the computer both need power, and I just want one power cord routing to the cabinet. So to do that, I have a power strip. And also, if I want to turn the monitor on and the computer on at the same time, this will do that. Whatever's in this, sorry for the zoom guys, this is a control outlet. So whatever's plugged into the blue control outlet is the master. And whatever's plugged into these green outlets will turn on and turn off depending on if this is on or off. So this is the computer. If the computer's on, then the monitor's on. If the computer's off, then I'll turn the monitor off. So it's great, it's convenient, and if I want to add things later, I can. If I want to add, anything. If I want to have lights here, if I replace my actual PC lights with full out lights, I would do that right there, and it would turn on with the cab. It's pretty nice. Let's keep this open and go to the back, where we have a nice setup here. I'm really proud of my back. I said in an earlier video, you can see here I have a power cord, which is really nice. Let me go ahead and bring it in. You can see here, let me manually focus. It's kind of messy, I'm sorry, but it is actually, it's cleaner than having a hole with like two power cords coming out the back. This is actually a female computer power adapter, and this is a normal computer power cord plugged into it. You also have an Ethernet out or RJ45 or Ethernet, whatever you want to call it, for internet, which I'll show you the internals of that in a moment. You have my 120mm fan here. This is actually where the CPU is mounted, or not CPU, but the CPU cooling system is mounted. And here you have a button, which is the power button, conveniently located on the back. And the hinge you have here is just basically, not hinge, but handle. It's the handle to open it up. So, pretty nice. You can see I'm on a hinge system. I have the zip ties here to sit this on when I open it. So it kind of opens like this, and sit on there. So, let's go ahead and show you the internal components from different angles. Alright, so we have a basic computer in here, that's for sure. I mounted it to the back piece because if I wanted to be able to access it easily, I could just open it up, and here it is. I use a self-contained liquid cooling system. This is, I can't tell you the brand, I guess if I looked at it I could. There you go. Cooler H2O, what's this, a 620 Antec. Really nice. I'm really impressed with it. It keeps it really cool. You can see I have it mounted here, and again, sorry for my manually focusing, but here's the light up fan, which is that's a cooler master. Then you have the fan that this came with, and this is blowing out the back end. So I have them mounted with these. I couldn't screw directly into it at this angle, so what I had to do is improvise. These L brackets here are holding things down just by pressure alone. There's one there holding it down. You can kind of see it there. And over here, there's not one. They're holding it down pretty tight, guys. I'm impressed with it. Now let's talk about the power cord. This is the adapter that I have. It coming out from this is the female end that the male end that comes from the outside plugs into, and then it goes right into that white connector there, which is actually the power strip. You can see the power strip over there. This white cable is routed very cleanly right here, and it zip ties and follows this middle cableway where all the cables are. It goes right there and just plugs into that. You can see this blue cable is actually the Ethernet cable. That's your Cat 5 cable that, I keep saying Ethernet, that's incorrect. It's Cat 5 cable. So I wired it up to this female connector here using a credit card. If you guys haven't wired those before, credit card or something like that's really easy to help you wire it, and it snakes all the way back. And I'm gonna walk over here and show you the inside here, and forgive me for the lighting conditions, but it plugs into the computer down there. There's a few things I plug into. I left, as you can see, between the bottom of this piece of wood and the bottom of the motherboard, I left about an inch gap, or a few inches, because of the video power cord, video out. See, it's plugged in there, along with your USBs and your Cat 5. So you need at least 2 inches there to kind of let you plug in I/O stuff. It's important because you gotta plug the monitor into that computer, and if you have it flat against the ground, you're not gonna have that. You guys have been looking at this, and I explained it in an earlier video like everything else, but I want to go into detail. This is the front side USB bus or ports that were attached to the case that I stripped most of these components out of. I wanted this here because this is my wireless card, and I wanted it kind of up high and on the back. So here it is. It's a wireless in, Belkin wireless in card. It's really awesome. It keeps my connects directly to my wireless network as soon as I turn it on. It's convenient for if I host any Steam games, but mainly for remote access. You have a few extra USB and audio. I might use that in an earlier or later date. So I have 2 hard drives here, and they're very cleanly mounted, except for this guy. I had to improvise with a few zip ties, but it actually holds it in place fairly well. This is the boot drive, and being the boot drive, it basically, you know, I zip tied it in. This is an AMD CPU bracket. It's pretty funny. I actually just zip tied it to this and then screwed the bracket down. So the screws, you know, it's not directly on the wood. It's actually, you know, raised up from the to offer a little bit more ventilation and stuff like that. Your main terabyte hard drive here, which is the Hyperspin drive, I have. Basically, it's screwed into a plastic mount, which I screw the plastic mount into the board. So the plastic mount's actually what's holding this in place. It's pretty nice. Let's see. This is my power button, gracefully wired. Now, the way these buttons work is basically the way it powers on the computer is it touches this orange and white wire together. When I push it, it touches those 2 wires together, and that's what turns on the computer. So you can see here on my motherboard, and forgive me for manually focusing, but this orange and white wire right there, you can see that's actually your power cord. It runs right here, zip tied all nice and clean up into my button. So I was able to get that working. I just stripped out basically the old power button and just wired that one in, and it works really well. The wiring for everything, I kind of try to zip tie and use this middle part as sort of like the area where all the wires kind of just are zip tied together and snake through. Let's talk about hardware components. I'm sorry, I've been beating around the bush. This is let's see what I have in here. Power supply, 700 watt. This is an old power supply I had laying around. All these components I had laying around, except for the CPU cooling system I have here. I actually bought that online, along with the terabyte hard drive. I wanted a new hard drive because I can't really trust all my old hard drives. I've been dropping them, throwing them, and they've been through a few moves, so I didn't want to rely on old hardware for my main Hyperspin drive. This is an old video card, a PNY GTX, what is this, 460, right? And this PNY GTX 460 is a nice video card. NVIDIA, I love it. It's perfect for like the games that I have in here. You know, my main gaming computer upstairs, when I upgraded it, this guy kind of got put in the closet for a while, and I actually had a lot of issues with it. So I ended up, you know, driver problems, I think, because it works perfectly now. But at the time, it was kind of giving me a lot of problems. So I ended up putting it in this guy, and now it seems to work perfectly fine for its uses. And I think that's most of the hardware components. The monitor is I think it's a 20-inch monitor, 1600 by 1200 resolution. Really nice. I was able to strip it out of its plastic and sit the main body of it into the wood. You can see I have it kind of screwed in and glued down just to kind of hold it in place. Your power cord, I bought a small, I don't want to say Molex, but, and if I can brighten this video I will. Doesn't look like I can. There we go, sweet. Why didn't I do that earlier? You can see I have it connected up. I bought like a really short power cord off of Amazon, so I wouldn't have all this access cord, along with a little bit longer one for the power supply. You can actually see if I move you over here, I have the intake fan, which is another red glowing Cooler Master fan. Really nice. I'm really happy about it. This T-molding, by the way, it's funny, I'm looking at it. I bought that off of like tmolding.com or whatever, and I bought a slot cutter off of like woodcraft.com. I bought a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, you can see here I kind of duct taped on the controls for the monitor onto the back here. This little, it was connected with a ribbon connector or whatever, so I connected it in the back. Let's see, I think that's in detail. I think that's everything. 4 gigs of RAM, 1333 power. That's most of my hardware video, guys. It took a lot of time to put this stuff together and to get all the pieces aligned, all the stars aligned. But now that the stars are aligned, we're looking at a good product. I hope that you guys appreciate it as much as I do. The only thing I have yet to do is the bezel, and I'm going to basically, I don't want to have a gloss screen. I was going to put a piece of plexiglass here, but unfortunately the plexiglass piece has a high glare. If you can tell right there, look at that glare. It's like a mirror, and I don't want a mirror when I'm playing this game. The monitor right now just looks great looking at it flat on. So what I want to do is just use it the way it is and have a wood border. So that's it for my hardware video, guys. It's been a long journey. Getting plans, doing measurements, getting all the buttons. It's been a lot of money. And if you ask me how much I spent, let's see, I calculated it up. I had to buy a lot of tools. I had to get all the wood. The materials actually were the cheapest part. The buttons were like $250. The materials were probably like $150. The tools were most of the money. The monitor I didn't purchase. The computer components I did not purchase. I had to get this printed for 15 bucks. The plexiglass was along with the material cost. But again, the tools were the most money along with these buttons. Overall, I spent about $1,400, a little bit over, about $1,450. Was how much all this cost, and if you look at how much these are running on eBay, over $2 grand for a lot of these. So I think that I actually made out ahead. I got a lot of tools out of it at least. So in the future, I'll have all these tools to play with if I want to make these cabinets in the future. At least if you were gonna make one of these cabs on a budget and you want to save money, you could borrow somebody else's tools or rent them. That's what I suggest. The wood is cheap. The T-molding was expensive for me because I'm living here in Hawaii, so shipping was ridiculous for a lot of this stuff. So besides shipping costs, the cost of materials were cheap. The computer components you can get really cheap. You could build. You can't have exactly what I have for too cheap. Probably around $400. The cost of the monitor, you're not going to find a monitor like this for very cheap because it is 1600 by 1200 resolution. But not everyone requires that. The monitor is a great thing. It's probably like $200 to $300 for a monitor like this nowadays, 20-inch. So I'm really happy that I was able to get that from a friend for free. If I ever build another one of these again, at least it'll be cheaper the next time because I already paid for all the tools. So again, this is FitDread from FitDread.com, and subscribe.